So, call the meeting to order. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Would anyone in the public like to comment? I think we're good with that. All right, Treasurer's report. We just started. We're at the Treasurer's report. So.
Oh, we started?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We're online. Okay.
So we haven't started talking about the Treasurer's report.
So Treasurer's report for the 9 months ended March. Nothing too crazy going on. We are still slightly over budget, mainly due to the pension issue, which is the same issue that we talked about last month. Other variances, we are also over budget in terms of income, so that's offsetting a significant portion of our expense amount that we're over budget. There's a slight amount that we're over budget this month and for the year to date in building improvements because of the purchase of the security cameras and a repair to one of the roof units. But other than that, everything else expense-wise is kind of immaterially either up or down. Nothing's really crazy one way or the other. Pretty much on track to be flat or maybe slightly over budget at the end of this fiscal year.
So we're over on
Interest, grant, book sale income.
That's great. Obviously, book sales great. Grant. So this is a grant that we hadn't budgeted. It looked like.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so.
that's great. And then I guess so. Interest was doing better than we. All right.
Significantly.
Yeah, that seems like a lot to be over in interest, but
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing.
That's because of the CD ladder, right?
So ready for the increase in interest rates.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and then everything else we talked about in the past, or it's not
Yeah,
the
nothing
variances
else
so
is
big
new
that
this month.
yeah. Most of these variances are pretty small.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else is realistically material other than, like I said, buildings and maintenance and the pension.
Anyone have any other questions, thoughts? Jason? You good?
No.
All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion to accept the treasury report and the check registry. Motion seconded by Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, adopted.
All right.
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I got it.
Has anyone seen Irene? I would have sworn I saw her.
She's in the
Oh,
building,
okay.
yep, so.
Hey, Irene. Okay. We're done with that. We're going to now go to committees. Building and grounds.
Okay, Jason, is it okay if I take the lead?
Absolutely,
Okay,
Joe.
thank you. So I just need to, and I may need to, you may need to tell me to stop talking at some point, but I'm going to try to quickly update you on where we are with our building project. Okay, so as you know from emails, we're completely on the ballot. We're good there. Right? Now, we, of course, have a change in PR person, and Luann is doing a wonderful job and has learned, she brings a lot of skills into the process and has learned a lot of skills here, but she's essentially got 2 full-time jobs, and one of them is running the library's regular PR, and the other is running the library's PR for the library renewal plan. Obviously, I'm working on that pretty much full-time as well. We made, as a design steering committee, and I think as a library board, a decision not to hire a high-powered outside marketing consultant. And I continue to think that was a good decision, except that we are, keeping our heads barely above water, Luann and I, to do both our regular duties and get some material prepared for the public. We have a good publication. We are also, we're right on the cusp of putting out our May-June newsletter. We've gone back and forth quite a bit over the last 2 days over whether those are going to be one combined publication or two separate publications. I believe we're currently combined, correct? Okay. So that will be out quite soon. The website is in pretty good shape for the library renewal plan. I have so far spoken to about 10 community groups and have another 10 or so lined up. I would be happy to speak to more if you have any suggestions. And in essence, I think we're about to turn a corner in terms of having the primary print material done and the primary web material done. Just got out of a foundation meeting. The foundation is doing a lot of support of the project financially in terms of paying for 2 full-page ads in our town and I believe a half-page ad in the Enterprise. We've contacted the Times-Union, which has sort of given a handshake promise to do a feature on the library renewal plan. I have to publicly thank Maria Buell, who used to work at the Times-Union. She's one of our librarians, and also her husband works there now. She was instrumental in getting an entree to them, and as you may recall, especially those of you who were on the board in 2012, their last-minute editorial against our 2012 project was probably a key to it being defeated. We've been in touch with the Altamont Enterprise about a feature there and are waiting for them to schedule that. We had our first 2 letters to the editor in the Enterprise today, which I emailed out to you all. I think more hopefully letters will be coming. I'm certainly, like, the story on those 2, Mark Curiali did the one without being asked because he believes in the library and in the project, and that was great. You know, it's when you find yourself in a position to suggest to someone that they write a letter to the editor, I think it's time to do that. And the other letter, I found myself in a position to suggest that that person write a letter to the editor, and it may not have occurred to him otherwise, but this is going to be a grassroots, you know, fight, basically, to get the thing passed. And so, you know, I've had a lot of good response at the meetings I've been to. I had someone at one of the PTAs say to me, I'm really glad that you came here to explain this because I would have automatically voted no until you explained to me why the library might need to be renovated and expanded. But the real battle is getting the word out. You know, there's short attention spans. In the foundation meeting just a second ago, we were talking a little bit about using video on the social media channels to promote the idea. And one of the foundation members said something which I think is true. You know, on Facebook, I never watch the videos. It takes too much time, you know. So that's the world that we live in, you know. So we have to, we're punching, fighting hard. I had, elsewhere in the meeting I'll talk about, I had a lengthy and productive meeting today with a town supervisor and town planner that I think will help our overall effort. I got invited to speak at the next town board meeting on May 7th. I think we've come a long way since the time when the previous town supervisor told me, no, we don't want you to speak at our town board meeting. But at any rate, you know, we're in the trenches, and we of course would appreciate any help we can get on any publicity type stuff. I do have copies of what I would call, what do we call this 4-page document? Luann, is it a flyer?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, that's right, good word for it.
Yeah. So this is what we've been developing. This is not quite finished yet. I'll just send them around and take one and pass it on. It's not quite finished yet, but it is our basic, you know, when the library, you know, did the referendum in 2012, one of the criticisms was that there were 4 expensive glossy postcards produced, and one of the decisions we made fairly early on was to produce 1 piece. So this is the 1 piece that we have produced. We've made some progress and are trying to decide on whether to use a mailing list and mail this to every town and every household in Gilderland. If we did so, we would only do it once. the two consultants that we spoke to about this, about how to inform your community about a renovation project, both said do not mail them to everyone in the community. Mail them to the people who use the library. So we need to make a decision on that, basically because it'll affect how many of them we print, and also there's a cost involved in printing and mailing. So I'm certainly giving out a version of this. It keeps changing every day, but I'm giving out a version of it at every public event I go to, and you probably saw a couple different display spaces in the library on your way in where we have this. I have to report that our two public meetings on April 16th, everybody who went to them says that they were very well conducted by Paul Mays and myself, but the aggregate audience for the two was 12. Now, when we did public meetings on April 11th last year, where there was still time to contribute ideas to the project, it wasn't finished and designed, the two meetings drew a total of about 85 between them, which was good, but we had wished it had been a little higher. The survey input process 15 months ago had 2,108 respondents. So I did the only thing as a director that I could do after I had 12 people show up to the first two of the 3 scheduled sessions. I scheduled 3 more. And we're just gonna keep pushing out the invites. And
I guess you already put that up, that's right.
Yeah.
I was gonna, my
Yeah.
only concern was if no one's really showing up, is it a good idea? But I guess we've already scheduled them, so.
I've scheduled them, and, you know, like, we used every medium but one to promote the two on April 16th. We were just going so fast that, quite honestly, we forgot to put a Facebook post out about them. So we put that out the morning of the events, which were at 4 and at 6:30. Usually, the electronic sign is our most productive medium for publicizing anything, and it was on there for, I don't know, 8 or 10 days before.
Yeah.
We think now that it, you know, the election is getting closer, the letters to the editor are starting, so hopefully the attendance at these next 4 public meetings in the library will be better.
One of the 3 that you added. Oops, sorry.
Luann has
I
it
could
on
tell
her
you.
phone there, so.
Yeah. So the new sessions are, well, May 2nd is when Paul Mays will be here
May 2nd at 6:30.
at 6:30, right. And then Tim is also doing Tuesday, April 30th at 2 o'clock,
Okay.
Thursday, May 9th at 1 p.m.,
Okay.
and Tuesday, May 14th at 10 a.m.
And if we start to get people at those, I will try to schedule more, but as I told our friend Mark Grimm, who did a Facebook posting announcing these sessions, an informative posting, I said, you know, the reason they're at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock and 6:30 is A, to try to give the public chances to get to them at different times of day, but B, because when you're scheduling things like this on the fly, there's not a lot of meeting room space left, you know, like most of our meeting room space between now and May 21st is already booked. Or, quite frankly, I would have booked 2 more of them, is kind of where I was thinking, but these were the only dates and times that we could find. We'll go back and look again. If people start coming, we'll.
Tim, I just want to, I don't mean to interrupt you, I have a
That's
question.
okay. I'm near the end anyway.
I just want to take a step back before we get
Sure.
too far ahead. You just said that you're only going to do a mailing to the people that use the library, and
Email,
oh, it's going to be an email?
is that what?
I thought you said it was a mailing.
I did say it was a mailing, but what the consultant said was maybe target people who use the library as opposed to targeting everyone in the town, you know? And that's a decision that I think we need to make. We haven't made it yet. We'd be happy to have board input on that decision.
And we could certainly email it too, we have over 10,000 contacts.
Yeah,
We could
so-
send.
We have 10 or 11,000 email addresses, and we have access to a mailing list for every residential address in the town of Kilburn. So,
Do you want to send to those who have library cards, or what?
I honestly have not been able to focus on that decision. The collective wisdom of this room would be appreciated. You know, there's a certain logic in connecting just with those who've already connected with us and have a library card.
But the problem with that is, the objectors, the people that, you know, are gonna come out and be like, well, no one knew about this, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You know, you're just kind of targeting the people that are more likely to vote for
Right.
it, instead of like, you know, all the people that are gonna be paying for it.
Right, so you're saying that a good idea would be to get this into the
I was
hands
saying
of
we should
every-
at least discuss it.
Yeah, well, I agree. And the way you state it, it seems to make perfect sense that we should find the money in our budget to print, there's about 12,000 residential addresses in Gilderland, a little over 12.
I guess,
You don't want to bring out those people who will vote against it.
true.
Although, typically, in a lot of local elections recently, I've heard a version of what Jason's saying. How is it that I didn't know about this, you know?
I feel like people should be able to make an informed decision,
If they didn't know
especially since you have
about
like,
it, they
you know,
didn't care enough to find out.
Well, so who complains about not knowing about something? Maybe in the last school bond vote, was that a feeling? But like the school mails to everyone, so
Right, right.
they're, but you know, they have a lot more funding than we do. What is, you know, something like this gonna set back our advertising budget if we did mail to everyone? I mean, this is,
It
you know,
will.
when this,
Yeah,
I would have to look, yeah, we'd have to look into what the
Yeah,
cost would be,
okay.
I'm not sure.
but it would, I would imagine it would be a pretty solid dent.
yeah, yeah. It'll be expensive, but.
It would probably be just like a back and front,
Okay.
you know, one
It'd be kind of a condensed one.
page, kind of just like a card,
Yeah.
a large postcard type of thing.
And I believe we budgeted in this particular year. I don't know if, is Carol here? I believe we budgeted a little extra in printing and postage this year for that possibility, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Do you have a list of people who have voted in the last couple of school board and library elections?
no, is it theoretically possible to get a list like that?
I don't know, it might very well be.
Okay.
And because those are your prime voters, and those are, you know, the voters that you want to convince.
I mean, the school, if anyone has it, obviously it's the school
Yeah,
district.
the school
Yeah.
district might have.
I don't,
Okay.
I don't know.
See, I agree with Jason that if we don't send it to everyone, we're giving the opposition ammunition to use against it. Not on its merits, but just on the procedure that we are doing.
Is there an opposition?
Yes.
There's always
There's always gonna be some opposition, okay?
Or
And if
have
we-
they organized yet, or what?
No.
But last time you guys did it, the opposition organized within days. I mean,
With 24 hours, basically.
And again, if we don't, you know, if we give an opportunity for any, you know, for them to grab onto something and say, oh, you know, they didn't let us know about it, you know, you should vote against it because of the way they went about it. Not so much even because it's not, you know, they don't want it done, you know, on its merit, but just because the fact that we're not letting everybody know.
I mean, I don't wanna do this like a campaign, I just wanna like make sure that anyone that comes out is informed, so that like, you know, they can make a decision based on like what they see, that's like, you know, not someone telling them something that may not be true, or promoting it one way or the other. you
I'm
know?
sure some people are gonna tell them stuff that's not true one way or another.
Yeah, but I mean, like, in this thing, it says, you know, for a $300,000 home, the average increase in taxes would be $36.90 a year. That's, you know, that should be going out to everyone.
Yeah.
So that way, you know, if somebody starts saying to you, oh, you know what, it's gonna cost you an extra $200 a year if you vote for it, we're sending this to everyone so that they can see, hey, wait, you know, what I've been told may not be correct.
I just think that everybody in Guilderland is gonna pay for this, so everyone should have an opportunity to make the informed decision. The library is for everyone. That's, you know, if we were to only send it to the people that we think are gonna vote yes, like, that's not the kind of organization that we are.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's, you know, something that we necessarily wanna do, because that's not what we're about. We want everyone to come to the library and to know about it.
Yep.
This is just one more opportunity to tell everyone how great the library is.
There are people who never vote in these
And they're
things.
never gonna vote
Never
anyway.
wanna vote.
That's
So
true.
should we you
Well,
know,
we're giving them the
waste money
opportunity.
on that.
They need the opportunity to do so, to be informed about it, even if they choose not to come out. Can't take away the opportunity from someone.
So there's a mailing list of 12,000 residents?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Mhm.
So I'll make a motion that we mail this out to 12,000.
Well, maybe not this, mail something out.
Oh, I thought this was
It
it.
would be, yeah, I mean.
So it's probably-
Well, I mean, so with the
Possibly
information,
card.
yeah, a card or something, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is like the key piece of information right
This
here.
is
The
good,
fund,
though.
the fund's
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mailing list, is that of all residents or all property owners?
I don't know. I know we've discussed that in another context, but I will have
It
to.
would be only property owners.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, 'cause
Yeah.
they, I mean, they're the only ones
Well,
eligible
but
to
it's
vote.
like for an apartment complex, it goes to
Oh, no,
every
everybody
apartment.
votes,
Yeah.
everybody votes,
everybody
yeah,
says
everybody
vote.
votes, that's right,
Are
that's
they
right.
registered voters?
I think it would have to be registered voters. I believe the list is registered
registered
voters
voters.
Yeah,
because you know
It's
you
a
can
voter
track
list.
down people that own properties that
Right.
never
It's,
registered.
it's a
Right.
voter list, but the books and the election is conducted by the school board.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have all the
So
information.
so the school board must somehow pull from the.
Right.
Yeah, they get a list from the Board of Elections and as far as like who's eligible. But again, they're the one conducting the election and they're gonna be the one that's gonna have like who voted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We couldn't mail this out,
Sure we could.
because
I
I
mean, we
feel
could.
like, I mean, I know it may
Yeah.
be more cost effective
Yeah.
to send the postcard, but I feel like this is really comprehensive, like, I feel like the postcard may be like a little snapshot, but people will have questions, and I think this answers the questions that will come up in somebody's mind, including the floor plan. I don't know, I think this is a really great.
Yeah, it just depends on the
newsletter.
cost, I mean, you get.
Yeah.
'cause
Well,
this-
yeah,
this
that's
is-
my
can
only concern is-
significantly increase the cost.
And that's what, another
Because
thing
it's an
I'm thinking.
envelope, it
And
versus
just
a
like,
postcard.
just like Tim said, people
Can it
don't
be-
watch the videos on YouTube because they're a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Can it be
They don't
like,
wanna
I
read
know,
4 pages.
When I see this, if it's not on the front page, 90% of people aren't gonna read
Front
it.
and back is all people are gonna want.
So yeah, that's why I agree it should be one page. You certainly make the whatever. I know there's a
A
website.
link, just
You know,
put a link. and
try to
if
get that
people want
there.
Additional information,
Yeah.
they can follow the
this
link.
is great, but yeah, people aren't. Most people.
Right, and the back is great, but it doesn't tell you what the new, like, there's no color, you don't know what's new, any of those
You
things.
don't even have the website on here.
No, we don't have that.
Karen, can you clarify your motion, repeat it for us, please?
Yeah, I'm making, I'd make a motion to mail out a informational packet similar to the one we're seeing on the Guilderland Public Library renewal plan to the approximately 12,000 Guilderland, town of Guilderland school district voters. Registered voters.
Gillen School District.
Second.
Seconded by Barry.
Hold on.
Any more
That's the
discussion?
Clear as
That's
mud,
the
right?
postcard that Luann was talking
Well,
about?
I'm gonna give it to
Or
them.
maybe a
They
two-page
should,
sheet,
yeah.
but some kind of.
Some kind of an
Some kind
information.
of, okay.
Yeah.
Because if you have more stuff like this, you can use it to stuff apartment buildings too.
Mhm.
So any
But the
more-
mailing list I'm aware
Motion
of
mail
will go to each
information
mailbox in
Similar
the
to
apartment.
presented.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to visit them because the
You're the one
mail
presented.
carrier is gonna visit them.
Yeah.
Right? So,
So we go to resident or
To all,
thing,
Or
or
to
not to
approximately
individual
12,000.
people?
I am told that we have access to a list
We do.
of every address and that we can choose to link it to a list of every person's name.
12,000.
So, and it would be more effective to say Herb Henning at this address. rather
Yeah, and
than-
if we don't
Yeah.
have anyone at that address, you want to deliver to that address anyway?
If you sort it,
If we don't have
Right,
a
right.
person.
as long as you sort it before you bring it to the post
Registered
office,
Right.
then you get,
And that would
then you
probably-
get that
that'd be-
kind
Like
of
the school
discount.
Save money on that
district's brochure on the adult education just went to
Yeah.
postal person, you know.
Yeah, resident,
Whatever
current
the-
resident. yeah. So, what motion, did it get voted on?
Yeah.
And
No,
what?
so I was
We
seeing if there's
second.
any more debate on the motion. So we're good with it? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And I'm sorry, could you guys tell me what the motion was?
Just to mail this out to the
Okay.
Guilderland.
We're gonna, yes,
to-
some
Some form
Some
of it.
form of
Okay,
this.
to the most
Yeah, the
complete
most-
list
yeah,
of
right.
potential voters in
Yeah.
Guilderland.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Now, I would probably make another motion, are we up for discussion, like to the 10,000 or whatever we have of our current library people, I think you could do an email out
Right.
that said, vote yes.
Yeah, and I don't
Right?
think we need a
No.
motion.
We
don't need to do a
for that.
motion for
Yeah.
that.
No, okay, I just
Doesn't
wanna make
cost us
sure.
anything.
No, I know, but I mean,
But we
I
can't
thought there
say
were some
vote yes.
issues.
Can't say
No,
vote
I
yes.
know, or
Yeah.
say, you know, we encourage you to vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, is that, I mean,
There are
that's,
information sessions on such and such days, so
Yeah.
that kind of, you know.
but
Yep.
bring the knowledge to the vote,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I mean, of when the date is.
Yeah.
There isn't any issue on that, about telling them when the vote is? on the
Not at
email?
all.
Okay,
You
all
can-
right,
yeah.
just checking.
As long as
Okay.
we're not, as long as we don't advocate.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I think it's a good idea.
So that's,
That's fine.
We can, he
Okay,
can't.
okay.
Yeah.
that's, and that is a good point, as board
Yeah, I
members,
know,
you
right,
can ask people
right,
to vote yes.
Right.
So that's everything I had been planning to bring to your attention. Do you
Great.
guys have any questions about where we stand with the building process?
No, but I just have a comment.
Okay.
I attended the 2 meetings that were held on Tuesday, where we only had, I think, 5 and 7, or.
We didn't count you in the total.
Yeah.
So-
And I gotta say, Tim and Paul Mays did a fantastic job.
Excellent, that's great.
The people, other than Tim's microphone not working a little bit at sometimes, but then it got straightened out. And let me tell you, it's a lot harder. I was amazed because there were so few people there. It's harder to make your presentation. And what Tim and Paul did was, I mean, they made it as if the place was packed with people, and they were trying to, explain the whole thing to them and everything. And again, they did a great job, and they did answer a lot of questions, and they covered every inch of the situation, so.
Excellent.
I just
Yeah,
want
That's what you
to,
do.
thank you, Barry. Another quick update is that I'll just want to list the groups that I've done so far. So I've done 4 PTAs. I've done the Guilderland Republican Committee. I have a hard time even remembering what I've done, and I'm not trying to get kudos here, but I've worked 12 hours a day for 9 of the last 10 weeknights. Last night I just went to baseball practice instead of that. Often 2 meetings a night. I mean, if this thing doesn't pass, it's not going to be my fault.
I would ask you though to amend, if you can, amend your report to include those. I think
Right.
that's important.
Okay.
Right,
Yep.
to be for your time and for the
Yeah.
sake of everything you've done, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think
amend
that's-
my report to include
Yeah.
the community
I mean,
groups
it's a
I've
good
already done.
review of just what you've done, for your sake and everybody else's for the
Yeah.
point of the minutes. I think that's good.
Agreed.
I did the Altamont Library Board the other
Yeah,
night.
I mean, I know you've done a lot, so just.
So, okay, so that's really everything I have to say unless there are questions.
Although there may be only a few people here, I actually watched your 2 presentations on
You
Facebook.
watch both
I
of
did.
them?
I watched
Wow.
parts of both of them on Facebook.
That's
just
a
to
good
get the
point, so
turnout.
maybe, another 100 people are
Right.
watching.
You never
Right.
know.
Since we
I
put
don't know if you
the,
can count how many are actually.
There was a little thing. Actually, Mark Curiali was watching on Facebook the same time I was.
Oh,
It said-
really?
Yeah, and then it said, a bunch of other people, but he was like a friend. I'm a friend, so I could see that he was watching. But there were a bunch of other people. When I watched, maybe only 5 or 6. But.
Hmm.
Don't some videos have like a tally, like if you go
Yeah, yeah, that's
online,
what I
it
was-
says, yeah.
So, I was
tells
saying.
you.
So it was like 5 or 6 when I looked.
So thank you for doing that too.
Sure,
Yeah, that was-
well, it's my job, and thank you for thanking me, but it is my job, so. Thanks. That's everything I've got. Design steering is really the same concept
Yeah.
as the building, so.
Okay. So finance and audit. Chris isn't here. Carol, is there nothing, right? You guys didn't meet or anything? Okay. Personnel, labor management.
Okay, we haven't had a meeting. I did send an email to Tim asking whether we had to do anything or make a decision, on anything else for it, so that the contracts could be written.
Right, and would you like me to go into that subject matter? I think it would be a good idea
Yeah.
to briefly explain to people what,
Can I just,
Yeah.
613 people viewed
Oh,
the,
great.
Wow.
Super.
yeah.
That's awesome to know because, it's
You
hard to
felt
even.
so lonely.
It's hard to even sleep the night
Thanks,
before, because you're
Peter.
gonna be doing 2 public talks, and then when, not too many people, we set up for 100 and we had 12. Or actually, we set up for 200, because it's 2 sessions, right? So, I was a little misinformed. I thought we had an issue, but once I looked into it, I think we cleared it up. So here's the issue. The CSEA contracts in the building have a longevity schedule in them. And according to that longevity schedule, employees receive a longevity payment every year beginning with their 6th year of employment. And the lowest amount comes in your 6th year through your 9th year. And then you have your 10th year through your 14th year, and your 15th year through your 20th year, and 21st and on. An employee in the admin department brought to my attention that their contract had previously looked like that, and then when they got their contract for the most recent 3-year period, it was 6th year through the 10th year, 11th year through the 15th year. And so the upshot for that employee and a couple others was that they were going to have to wait 1 extra year to see a jump in their longevity. And they brought that to me, and I said I would look into it. And we discussed it in at least one, maybe more than one, personnel committee meeting. I was sent back to do a little more research on it. I had thought all along that the admin contracts were, for the last 3 years, off, and that the admin people were therefore going to have to wait an extra year that the CSEA people did not have to wait. Once I got to roll up my sleeves with Margaret and really look at it, I found out that it was the admin contracts that were out of step. And we want all contracts in the building to be on the same longevity schedule to make the job of paying longevity systematic in the payroll system. And so therefore that means that those admin employees who had the wrong longevity schedule in their contract for 3 years are now reverting to the same longevity schedule that the CSEA has. So it's 6 through 9, 10 through 14. And those are the contracts I have with me that the board can sign if they wish, and the employees can sign if they wish. They were just finalized this week by Chris Lanchampion. So that's the issue in a nutshell. Herb asked me if we needed to meet about it, and I quite frankly did not feel that we needed to meet about it because I didn't see any likelihood that the board would be interested in putting the admin employees for the next contractual period, which is 1 year, on a different longevity schedule than CSEA is on. But we've got a full public airing of the whole concept, so if we do want to discuss a different longevity schedule, either a personnel committee meeting or this meeting would be the time to send us back.
Let's just discuss it here. I guess my question is, how did this get out of whack? Was this just some technical error? Has this been out of whack for years? Did we make this out of whack the last time we did the CSEA contract?
We made it out of whack the last time we did the admin contract. Is that correct, Margaret?
Yeah.
And I think it's a typographical error. Maybe typographical is not quite the right word, but you know, 6 to 9 and 6 to 10 are very similar concepts. So when you're sitting at your typewriter and writing, whoever wrote them, which I believe was our council, put in a different longevity schedule than the CSEA contract.
And this just needed to be corrected.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Are there any fiscal implications as a result?
Well, of course, the fiscal implication is that if we were to continue in our new admin contracts with the same schedule that was in the last 3-year admin contract, it would cost us a very small amount of money, probably about $1,000 in this 1-year contract period to, and maybe about $1,500 between the 3 or 4 affected employees. So it would cost the library money to go. But to me, the real issue is for Paylocity and Carol and Margaret to process the payroll correctly, every employee should be on the same longevity schedule.
Agreed. So if I'm understanding this, so we'll take someone maybe like Margaret, who's been here for a little while. I want to say something. Yeah, but so her contract had been 6 through 10, 15 years ago, then 6 through 10, 12 years ago, and 6 through 10, 9 years ago, and then last when we just did this contract, and all of a sudden, someone inadvertently switched to 629.
Yeah, the last
Is that-
3 years.
That's
considered a clerical error.
okay. So, but that my understanding of it is then, all right, then
It
yeah.
shouldn't affect Margaret because she has more years
Right.
than
It-
the area that was changed.
It affects the people who've worked here 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and there are,
Alright, so it was a clerical error made. If that's all it was, then
that's my
Do you
interpretation.
need a motion?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can do a motion if you want. Chris Lanchanton has drawn up new contracts for all the admin employees. They include the same longevity schedule as the CSEA employees.
Yeah.
So
I'll
it's,
make the motion as the chairman of the personnel committee.
why,
that-
don't we have to just approve the contracts tonight? Don't we have that motion to do?
yes.
So
right.
why don't we just yeah, we'll just
don't
approve.
have
Yeah,
these?
we
Okay.
have to just a straight vote to approve these anyway. So
Okay, so
let's
we
just
don't
vote
need
to
the
approve them.
motion to.
Yeah, we don't need to we're just voting to approve the contracts later tonight.
Oh, I thought that was the motion. Vote to approve.
Oh, then that's the motion
That he
then.
wants.
Then I'm good with that. I just want to make sure the motion wasn't to like switch up.
Do we have copies of the,
We have one copy of all the admin.
I mean, if I'm voting on a contract, I'd like to at least look at it.
Okay.
Look it
Do you
over.
want to start looking at it now, or do you want to look at it when executive session comes?
I'd rather look at it before a meeting so that I can be prepared at the meeting.
Okay. To my knowledge, Barry, and I'm not trying to argue with you, but to my knowledge, we've never made 11 copies of each admin contract prior to a board meeting when we're approved. That would be 77 copies of these contracts,
Okay.
which is a lot of paper.
Well, can you pass it around a
Sure.
little, so to those of us who might want to review
Yeah, I
it?
have copies at home, but I
Okay.
don't bring them.
Okay.
So let's wait till executive session to do that. But,
Yeah.
They're each about 6 or 8 pages,
Yeah.
so talk
There's a
about
lot
it.
of boilerplate too.
Yeah. So, anyway.
I'd just like to look at it before I vote on it.
I'm sure it's totally reasonable. Okay, so that was labor management.
But there's that other issue.
Background checks.
So here's what I can tell you about background checks. At the last board meeting, you guys asked us to look for a reasonably priced but robust background check system because, in part because we've always wanted to do that and we have a lot of children in the building, and in part because we have a recently departed employee who's been arrested for falsifying his identity and working under different social security numbers. So Margaret did some checking. One of the very first things that she pointed out to me is that, if I understand correctly, the board is not empowered to institute background checks without a cooperative agreement on that process from CSEA. My understanding is you could not start a background check program with a motion tonight. I have, because I thought that to be true, I have let the CSEA unit presidents know that the next time we have a labor management meeting, that the admin side plans to bring that concept. You have something else to say because you found a couple of, I thought you found the sheriff or somebody whose background and Paylocity, like you found a way to get done what we need to have done.
Well, I
right?
don't have access to any criminal background checks. What we
Okay.
can do through the new I-9 E-Verify,
Mhm.
which we use in Paylocity, is you can verify their social security number and whether or not they're an illegal immigrant.
Okay.
And so you cannot proceed in the process in Paylocity until those are verified, and that links to a federal database.
And there was a reason, I'm trying to remember why the
The government
employees.
shutdown was part of it. I-9 E-Verify was not operating during the government shutdown, and before that, we hadn't activated the
That module.
E-Verify onboarding.
Yeah, which we've activated now.
Yes.
So if an employee we hired today presented a false social security
We would
number,
know.
it would be caught. But from my position as library director, I still think with all these children in the building.
I was gonna say, that does nothing for the kids.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Correct.
So,
And that the individual that, escalated this, I was under the impression that he falsely uses someone else's identity, like, would that even catch that?
Yeah, it would, if you gave a false social security number, yes, it would catch it.
but if he gave a real social security number,
That
it would
wasn't
also.
attached to him. No, they're verifying all the way through.
Right, so if Tim Wiles applies for a job and gives you his social security number, or if Tim Wiles applies for a job and gives you Jenna's social security number, this would catch it?
Yes.
Okay.
Red flag
So,
go away.
yep.
But it wouldn't if he was if someone was like a sex offender or something like that at
Nothing
this
to do
point?
with criminal
No,
background.
you would never, I mean,
Fell
Do
on-
the credit agencies do background checks, or, you know, Equifax or those?
not
No.
criminal or child
No, not
abuse.
for criminal.
Mhm.
And that's $100 a pop.
Yeah,
just
it's
so you
not,
know.
it's
Yeah.
not
I mean, I do
inexpensive,
it
you are
every day.
correct.
Nobody
Yeah.
can walk in without that, and it's fingerprints,
Yep.
and it's,
Mhm.
so, if you're going down that route, that's what you've gotta be prepared for.
$100 per employee.
Easy,
Yeah,
And in the last month, we've hired at least 5 employees.
right.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that all we would be talking about with CSEA is for new employees. Like, I don't think there's any reason to do existing
They're
employees.
not, yeah, but they're not
Yeah.
gonna,
They're not,
Yeah.
stop
If it applies to one, it might apply to all. You have to negotiate that.
Yeah,
We'll see.
So-
I mean, that would be expensive, but may be worth knowing depending on how it goes, so.
mhm. You can do a little informal background checking when you hire people
Mhm.
by Googling, but it's not airtight, you know, so. So my understanding is that where we're at right now, if you guys want to continue to have us look at this, we need to schedule a meeting
Do
with
you
CSEA.
check, do you check the sex offender registry whenever you hire someone?
When I'm involved in a hiring decision, I do that, but I do not involve myself in every hiring decision in the building.
You could direct your staff to do that.
I could, yeah. and I
Well,
will.
you can only search for 2s and 3s. Level 1 don't show
Yeah.
up on the public list that you have to make a special phone call for.
Well,
And wait for the
at
government to
least
respond.
you can assure yourself, if they're not on the list, that these people aren't level 2 and 3.
Which is the highest level?
Yeah.
3.
3,
Right.
okay, so are you guys saying that I should?
So we don't think we need a motion, but we're okay with Tim and the labor committee moving forward with this?
I mean, it depends on, I want you to see what you're gonna do, because it's very complicated, right? I mean, you need to, if you wanna do registry, offender registry, that's one thing, criminal background check is something else. You know, fingerprints on, I mean, credit, obviously you don't need, but I mean, it's, before you even talk to the union, you gotta see what you want, what are you most concerned about?
Right.
You know, I mean, and I'm happy to help with that, but I think it's a discussion in the policy committee first, because you don't,
Okay.
why get the union all enraged on this when we don't have a
Sure.
plan of action, you know?
Yeah, okay.
So then we'll kick that.
The other
Yeah.
thing too, though, which she was referring to, was free.
Mhm.
So it may take a little time, but that seems to be the thing that you're most concerned about.
It is the highest concern. There's not a lot of cash in the
Why not take advantage
building.
of what's free, instead of $100 plus every time somebody applies?
But you don't know if somebody has a child abuse,
Yeah.
I mean, which is, you don't have to be, it takes a while to be a sex offender, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you get caught, but I mean, there's child abuse implications, if you're worried about it, be worried about it,
Mhm.
I mean, don't do it half, just like you think you're protected just because sex offender, you're not protected, so I'm just trying to,
One thing I can do is I can ask the directors of other large libraries. Like,
Yeah.
with all due respect to some of our colleagues, it doesn't make sense to ask what they do in Bern, because it's a
No,
very
right,
different
yeah.
organization. But what they do in Colony or Bethlehem or Albany is worth finding out.
Mhm.
So I will check into that. So
Well, then we'll kick it to the labor management and then
Alex,
come to some
better.
kind of conclusion on it.
labor management or
Policy.
I'm sorry.
policy?
Oh, no, I was going to personnel. Oh, policy.
Personnel, yeah, so I meant personnel.
Personnel.
It seems more personnel, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can kick it.
Yeah.
All right, personnel.
Okay. So that's it on.
Yeah, I guess it needs to go to both, because we will need a policy concerning this.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine, but I mean, you're talking about a labor management discussion,
let's-
I'm happy,
let's-
And
go
if,
to you
and
guys
if
first.
CSEA says absolutely not,
Yeah.
we're not gonna do this, then it doesn't need to go to policy at all. So,
And whatever hashes out with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
CSA may, then you can figure out the policy, so, all
Mhm.
right. So put it on you guys' shoulders. Okay. Anything else from the committee?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, policy?
I guess, it wouldn't hurt to say that we expect negotiation with CSEA Units 1 and 2 the contract expires June 30th, and I know that the union has had meetings, and, I think both sides expect to be negotiating sometime soon.
All right, yeah, that's fine. I guess I was hoping
Yeah.
this wouldn't, like, a background check wouldn't get lost in the shuffle
Yeah,
of, you know,
well,
we give you this and
probably-
you give us background checks.
It probably will be included in the negotiations.
It's fine, I guess that'll
but-
have to be what it
Yeah,
is.
but we don't want to start these things until after the vote.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because
Yeah, yeah.
we already have enough on.
Yeah, we have a lot
Yeah.
on our plates.
Thank
Good
you.
point.
Yep. Good call.
Okay. All right. Policy committee.
We tried, you know, but it didn't, we didn't have a quorum, so we were on our third try and didn't work. So,
The policies that we are looking at are largely kind of minor changes.
Yeah, no, and that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
So-
usually policies.
yeah. Well, so we will hopefully try again
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
next month.
sure,
and
yep.
so-
UHLS?
Okay, at the meeting of the Upper Hudson Library System, I made the pitch for our bond issue.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, asking that the, excuse me, asking that the trustees be sure to get in touch with any of their friends and relatives in Guilderland,
Thank you.
you know, to vote for this. And Yvette Terplak from the Altamont Library indicated that she had already been talking to people, and she's, you know, trying to convince them to vote for this. There are people who tell her that, you know, they're not concerned about Guilderland because they have the Altamont Library, so she has to, you know, inform them that, you know, Altamont is part of Guilderland, so it's, you know, necessary to do this. So, you know, I don't know if that's going to help at all, but, you know, this is, you know, is something. The other thing that we're discussing, we need nominations from library directors for the various awards that are going to be made in June for library programs, you know, adult program and children's program, and also for director of the year, and, you know, well, it should
Trustee
be
of the year.
trustee of the year and volunteer of the year and whatnot. You know, we do need everybody, all the directors, to make their nominations. We can't leave it to the Byrne Library, who nominates someone for every position every year.
I nominated Chris Aldrich for trustee of the year already, and what we've always done in this library is had the head of adult services and the head of youth services nominate a program.
Okay.
So the head of adult services is nominating the Better Angels program, and the head of youth services is unsure of whether she will have time to nominate, but it will be the Three Little Birds program if she does. So, which was nominated last year and did not win, which I've just said, hey, just use last year's application, you know. So I don't know quite where that stands because she's on vacation this week.
So next month, our committees will get together and look at the nominations for, I'm on the one that looks at the trustee and the volunteer, that I'm in that committee, and then there's another committee that looks at the programs. So, you know, that does take a while, and we get the information by email, and then we have a kit at the meeting and discuss the pros and cons of each of those nominations, and then decide, you know, on who will get the award. Very frequently there's one winner, but occasionally there are two programs or two individuals that, you know, that are so superior in this that they rate consideration. Other than that, the assembly budget was released, and there's less money going to libraries. So, you know,
State budget.
Yeah. The budgets were released in the Senate, but both budgets restore the governor's $5 million cuts, but the budget that was finally voted on, is a little bit less in this. There have been research on standards for system-wide MyCard, and at the district, the meeting of the library board, the library directors, 24 out of the 25 represented libraries signed on to universal standards for MyCard. Okay, Tim Burke was wrapping up his first 5 full-year term on the CDLC board and wanted to serve another term, so he was nominated for that term. And their nomination for the nominating committee was set for 4 seats that are becoming vacant on the Upper Hudson Library Board. The Guilderland seat does not become vacant. The Guilderland is one of the statutory libraries that have an automatic seat on the board of the Upper Hudson Library System, along with Colony, Bethlehem, Albany, and Troy, I believe. But there are seats reserved for small libraries in Rensselaer and Albany County, and for larger libraries in it. So there are seats that switch between different libraries. The leadership training has been working. The board presidents and library directors with a lot of the libraries have been in and had the joint training on how to run this in cooperatively. And I don't know, have you been to that? You've been to that training, I assume.
What training?
The training, the core library leadership training.
I do not know if I have been to that.
You have not been to that particular module because it requires us to go together. However, I would personally say, Tim Burke wouldn't like me to say it, but we have a very good working relationship, and we're in constant communication with Tim Burke about some issues. And he hasn't suggested that you and I should go over to it. So I personally think we're good at the moment.
Okay, because he had indicated that he would like all of the library teams to participate in that.
Well, we are planning to meet with him about something else in June, so we'll talk to him about it then.
Okay, because the nominations for the awards then are supposed to be in next Wednesday, on the 24th. Okay, and each of the award winner will be presented with a framed certificate and a check for $250. And the annual celebration is on Wednesday, June 12th at the Holiday Inn in Latham.
What is that celebration?
The Upper Hudson Library Board awards dinner.
Oh, okay.
And, a lot of...
Do you know what time that is?
It's usually about, people come at 6 and then there's a drink, there's a cocktail hour.
Meeting that night. We'll have to change.
There's a cocktail hour and then the dinner. Well, whichever time it is, perhaps you could adjust your schedule if you intend to go to that. There are a lot of other little things, automation, e-commerce, network problems, things that, I'm not fully cognizant of, and they discussed, things happening with Sierra and websites and what's happening in the different libraries, the programs that the different libraries are having. And that's pretty much it with the Upper Hudson Library System report. Our next meeting is on May 8th at 4:30 p.m.
Okay.
Great, all right, thank you, Eric. Foundation, I was there temporarily, you were there a little more, for longer.
Sure.
And,
I don't mind. So the foundation, of course, just met. And the three things I would highlight from having been there are that, and I briefly mentioned this earlier, but they made a commitment to buy 2 full-page ads in our town and a half-page in the Altamont Enterprise. They also plan to, they did make a commitment, which we are acting on, to employ a young woman named Laura Graffio to help us with our publicity related to the referendum effort. It's quite clear from that meeting that the foundation has the ability to ask people through a social media post to vote yes, because they don't work for the library and aren't paid with public funds. So that will be the position that they will be taking, but Laura is working really under Luann's and my supervision, because the foundation is a volunteer group, and anyone who would supervise her from that group wouldn't necessarily be at the library during working hours, that sort of thing. So
Is she related to Judge Victoria Graffio?
I believe that's her aunt. So they made a commitment to 40 hours for her, and their body, the foundation, as opposed to this group, if we need to ask for any additional hours, they can vote via email as long as everybody votes. I didn't realize that prior to tonight's meeting, so I was asking them to authorize an additional 40 hours just in case we needed it. And we went back and forth on that for a little while until they made it clear to me that they could do a vote online, and so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it if we need to. Other than that, I told them that the library is, you all hopefully are familiar with a concept called the Library of Things, where we circulate Wi-Fi hotspots and cake pans and folding tables and so forth, virtual reality glasses, fishing poles. The latest 3 additions to that are telescopes. The theme of the summer reading program this year is space, and oddly enough, the library needs more space. And ukuleles, which are really kind of a hot concept in libraries around the country. Apparently the ukulele is an easy instrument to pick up and learn compared to many other instruments. And we have a new group meeting monthly in the library called the Normanskill Strummers, which is a group of about 20 ukulele players who just needed a place to meet, and that's what a library meeting room is for. So they decided to name themselves after the meeting room they're using, which is the Normanskill Room. We bought, I think, 4 telescopes and 6 ukuleles, if I remember the numbers correct, and asked the foundation. The foundation raises money to benefit the library and always needs examples of things that they have done in the library. So I said, well, these telescopes and ukuleles would be good, high-profile things to say that you bought for the library. According to a text I received from their president, Steve Waxman, a few minutes ago, they apparently voted to purchase the telescopes on our behalf, but not the ukuleles, and that's fine. It's, we appreciate anything that they can do to help us. And that meeting was interrupted by a gentleman whose father was on our board back when the library was built, by the last name of Ferg. Steve Ferg was the board member, right? And the son, I believe, is John. But John was in to donate a ukulele in memory of his father, so we did a little photo op during the foundation meeting. And they may have discussed other matters, but because we meet the same evening, we have to leave. So if they discussed other matters, I also asked them, and I'll ask you guys too, I need a couple of volunteers on Saturday, May 18th at 2 in the afternoon for the appearance by Art Shamsky formerly of the New York Mets. Steve thought he was about 75% likely to be able to help with that event, and Barry, you'll help. Okay.
I'll be here.
We're good, so.
Won't miss Art Shamsky for anything.
Good,
Right.
thank you, so.
Are there still tickets available for that?
There are still tickets available. I haven't had a minute to check. We asked people to register online, but the last time I checked was about 10 days ago, and we had not really started the PR on it yet, but the registration was 0, which will be embarrassing if nobody comes to see Mr. Shamsky. But
The information that was posted that I saw on Facebook did not say anything about registering
oh,
or tickets.
okay. Well, there are not tickets. You just
Oh.
register online.
Yeah, but even that, I did not see anything about registering.
Okay, well, we'll double check that. I see Luann making a note, so, you know.
That
that's-
might be why there's 0 registering.
It's a really good example, like, when I do my regular job, I really should not be sticking my nose into library programming, but I love it so much that I do usually 6 or 8 programs a year. But now that I've got kind of 2 regular jobs, like, you know, I really couldn't turn him down when I got the opportunity to present him, but I kind of have no business running a library program on a Saturday in May, 3 days before the election. But I figured that it would maybe generate some positive buzz and help contribute toward the election. So
I
I'm
had
also.
read an article on that whole, that whole thing. I'm not sure if it was on the Hall of Fame website or where it was, but
The situation between Ron Darling and.
No, the
Oh.
situation with Tom Seaver and the
Oh, right.
trip
Right, yep.
to see him.
So I'll take a second to just mention that there's a very famous baseball book called The Teammates, where a bunch of Red Sox guys drive to Florida to visit Ted Williams late in his life, and because he couldn't travel anymore. And this book is kind of based on that. Tom Seaver was out in California and could not get back to a reunion for the '69 Mets, who are 50 years ago this year. So several of them went to him, and this book is a documentation of that trip.
I do
So,
want to mention, it does say on the Facebook post, please register on our website.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
My
I'm not on
apologies.
That's
Facebook,
fine.
so I'm
Yeah,
not on
it's fine. I just
Facebook
wanted to
either.
clarify
I
that.
didn't remember that at all.
So I didn't know that either.
so, well, Herb, you're welcome, and Barry, you're working at it, so.
Yes, I am.
There's 2.
Anyway, so that's everything I can think to report on with the foundation. Anything else you?
I
You're
was
gonna
just
be signing books for?
always thinking, it'd be kind of cool if the foundation did something for the library vote at that event, especially if it's highly attended.
Mhm.
3 days before, it would be a really way to try to get it into people's mind to vote yes. So that's,
Mhm.
I don't know if they meet, they meet before that event?
They do not, and when I looked for volunteers, there were not that many available, but you could send an email. So that raises a good point, which is that for many library programs, I'm going in to introduce the speaker and to say, you know, we have the vote coming up on May 21st, and there are copies of the flyer in the lobby. You know, here's my phone number if you want to ask me any questions. So I'll do it at that event as well. So anyway.
So then fundraising.
Fundraising, since Chris isn't here, I'll tell you about that. So Mike's here, and Mike's been an integral part of our fundraising committee. We have not met in the last 3 weeks or so, but we did meet and identify 10 local companies that we wanted to approach with the naming rights concept. So we sent them letters and followed up with phone calls, and 3 of them have given us meetings, which I've attended all 3. Mike's attended, I think, either 2 or 3, and Chris has attended 1 or 2. I can't quite remember. So one of those potential funders, has said no thank you to the naming rights, but took a tour of the library and renewed their commitment to continue supporting the gala every year. And the other 2 were still pending decisions on the parts of those companies. So we have nothing, you know, dramatic or positive to report in terms of fundraising. But one of my department heads, and I quoted this in the monthly report, Lisa Pitkin, was talking about this entire process of trying to promote and raise money for the library renewal, and she said, you know, nothing is ever wasted. So the meetings that we've taken at those companies, the tours that we've given, have led to closer relationships that will continue. The companies that invited us to come are companies that have already sponsored galas and so forth. So they're companies that already recognize the value of the library to the community. One thing I've learned from that, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but to properly conduct an ongoing fundraising campaign, you probably need a person whose job was dedicated to that, rather than, you know, a director and a couple of board members who were fitting it in here and there. Like one of the people, Mike invited people from the YMCA's fundraising operation to come and speak to us. And also Carol Cott invited someone from the formerly from the fundraising side of the JCC. And when we spoke to both of those people, they basically said, before you visit anyone, you need to have one major gift already in your pocket. So you can say, we've got this, you know, $100,000 from so-and-so. Like, there's a snowball effect apparently to fundraising. And it's hard to get the ball rolling, but once it begins to roll, you'll be okay. So I don't know if this is quite the right way to put it, but we don't have any fruit to hand you right now, but we think that these efforts will bear fruit in the future. So,
have you spoken to the Golub Corporation?
We have not. Mike, you did a little research on them in the foundation database, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to.
They're on our list.
They're on our list,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So.
Did they do a lot of charitable activity?
Yes, and they have contributed to various libraries in the capital district.
The Golos and the Masters are the ones, you know, that really like to name.
Yeah.
You know, buildings.
Yep, and, you know, quite frankly, I just, you know, I hope you don't think it's an excuse, but again, and I'm not trying to blow my horn, but when you work 10, 12-hour days in a row and you don't have time to return a phone call from someone like that, that tells you that as a group we are being, I don't want to say overly ambitious, but ambitious about what we're trying to do here. And, you know, like my example in the monthly report about the former employee who caused us a lot of time interfacing with the state police, there's still a library to run, and there's nobody else who can run it but me. I mean, I'm pushing down as much as I can to other people, but patience, I'm not saying you're not being patient, but you got to have patience when you're trying to, you know, do the different things that we're trying to do here. So, yeah. Not saying this, but anyway. Yeah.
Right. Fundraising done?
I would say so.
Okay, perfect.
Director's report.
Director's report.
So, I'm not gonna, I
Okay.
say this every time, I'm not gonna read you my director's report, but I did pick a few things to highlight. So, in your director's report, you'll see that our baby bag program for beginning readers has begun, and it's been very enthusiastically received. We got a lot of good attention during the month of March, which is what we're reporting on in this meeting, from our efforts to help the family who had been burned out of their home. It was a really good example of the community doing what communities are supposed to do. Back to our youth department for a minute. I was a little astonished to read in Beth's report that there are 325 kids registered in the 1,000 books before kindergarten program. And quite a few, I can't quite remember the number, but quite a few who completed that. And 95 kids represented or registered in the 500 books before middle school program. So every time you kind of think that our world and our nation are kind of going to the wrong way in a handbasket, the idea that 425 families would be registered for a program like that is the kind of thing that keeps me coming to work at a place like this. It's just awesome. The three things I want to point out about the IT department that are just wonderful. they figured out a way to use the existing photocopiers to create a free faxing service. So you can now send outgoing faxes for free. And we've publicized that on Facebook and will continue to do so. And it's been somewhat popular in the month or so that it's been in operation. I also was thrilled to see in there that Sean or one of his two staff members, John or Tom, had done some free PC repair for the Guilderland Historical Society, which, if you're familiar with them, is a very small group without an IT person, you know. And while there is no formal relationship between our organization and theirs, there ought to be a healthy informal relationship between them, and I think that we have that now. I'm not sure that we've always had that kind of relationship with similar community groups, but we've created a culture here where that kind of thing happens, and I don't even know about it till I read about it in a report, which is great. Our self-check machines, and this is a reflection of both IT and our CERC department, from March to March, 6,000 items checked out last year, 9,000 items checked out this year. So one of the things that they do is that it's just like when you're at the grocery store or Home Depot, if there's a line to check out, you're more motivated to go to the self-checkout. And the other thing that they do is that some people check things out that they feel somewhat confidential about, and they're more likely to have the machine do it than to have a human being check it out to them. Everything else that I want to highlight is in the report, so I'm not going to highlight it. But I am going to mention that I'm on vacation next week, so you know, I will obviously check my email and so forth, but I'm not here to speak to any community groups. So, and thankfully, maybe because it's school break week, but nobody had meetings that, you know, I said, oh, I can't do that because it's on the 23rd or whatever. So, okay, so that's that.
Barry?
I have a question.
Sure.
On Beth's report on the youth program.
Yep.
On the second page where it's comparing 2019 to 2018.
Yep.
The outreach section. For this year, it says that there were 94 attendees, and for last year, 1,007.
Yeah, I noticed that myself. They
That
must have
sounds
done, and they highlighted it too, which the highlighting in yellow is stuff they particularly want to call to the board's attention.
Yeah.
Beth is on vacation this week, or I would have asked her about it, but you don't happen to know, do you, Margaret, what they did last year that was so big?
No,
Is
It
that
might have
something
been.
you can find out?
Sure.
And then, I mean, it's not, obviously, it's not critical, but, I mean, that just jumped right out of me when I first read it.
Well, it's not that it's not critical, it's just not, you don't need to know right now, but we'll get you.
What does outreach entail?
Okay.
Like going into
yeah.
the community?
Goes into the community. What this typically means, there are two kinds of things you see right here. One is going over to Christ the King, or Maple Leaf Child Care, or St. Madeline Sophie, or the one my son went to on Johnston Road, and I can't remember the name of.
Tender Care?
Tender Care, thank you.
Because
you go into them and
there all the time.
you do story time, you know, so those are going to be small numbers. Those are going to be like 20 kids, 25 kids. Or the 1,007, I'm guessing, I wonder if they went to the Hannaford Kids Expo last year, and perhaps it hasn't happened yet.
Because the number of visits
so.
only went down from 6 to 4.
Right.
But the number of
So it's probably some big
the attendees, so.
Right.
So, and I don't know how they would have counted them at the Hannaford Kids Expo, but they probably have a little clicker with them at the table, you know?
Yeah, just,
Number of, you know.
Or someplace like that.
Yeah, yep, something like that. So I'll put a question mark on that and try to find out for you, so.
okay.
Yep.
And then I had one other question.
Do you know
on
Beth, by the way? Like, because you might just run into her next week since you're in here every day, you know. But what's your other question?
Is on Lewis Warner's report, maintenance.
Okay.
He says that they reset all the clocks in the building ahead and installed fresh batteries. And that just got me thinking, the smoke detectors and that are in the building, are they on batteries, on electric, or both? Do you
I
know?
think they're both, but I will have to check for you.
Because the batteries in those should have been changed too if they are batteries.
Sure.
And they may have done it and just not listed it, but.
Yeah. I'll check on that and let you know.
Great,
So.
thank you.
Yep. Anyone else have anything? Actually, I had something. So I saw, Sean, I saw in your report, uploading all the board videos to GPL archives. Is that done? Are you guys in the process of it?
It's actually up and running right now, but you need to click the link to get to it. It's something that we're gonna take and Jenna's doing it right now still, so it's kind of redundant, but we're gonna try and get that over to the backup site.
Perfect. Sounds interesting. I'm sure it'll be widely viewed, so.
I don't know about that. I'm always surprised when people, and after every board meeting, we get 10 or 12 people the next day either emailing or they're in the building and they're like,
Really?
yeah, I saw that, you know. And, you know, I don't know,
It's gotta
maybe
be
it's because I'm
Facebook.
in every board meeting that I just can't fathom watching it. Thank you
Yeah.
to those of you that do.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
I'm sure Chris, hopefully you're watching it right now. Somewhere in Arizona.
Yeah, and I would just like to thank Sean too for his, the email system
Yeah, thank
that
you.
he implemented, so now I can actually read and respond to everybody. But it's worked fantastic, so.
One thing I did, too recently to be in the report is that I went with Sean to a monthly luncheon of CATA, the Capital Area Technology Association, of which Sean is a board member and a leader. And I went to get a free lunch, and because Sean's been asking me to go for probably 2 years. And it was just a fantastic group. There were speakers speaking about cloud computing from Microsoft, Google, and a couple other giants. And you know, I always support any employee who wants to do outside service and or professional development. But it just knocked my socks off. Like it was all way over my head. You know, like it's the kind of stuff IT directors talk about rather than library directors. But it's a really cool group, and it kind of flies under the radar. Sometimes your IT people are like your umpires in baseball. As long as everything's working, you don't notice them, you know. But thank you, Sean, for being part of that. So.
Make a motion that we accept the director and staff reports for March 2019.
Motion by Peter, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, adopted. New business.
Okay, so Brian and I have talked about a number of new business items. I have to find each of them, but hopefully they won't be long. We wanted to read into the record Chris Aldrich's letter of resignation, which is to Brian and myself. I hereby resign from the Guilderland Public Library Board of Trustees effective May 31st, 2019. I'm moving out of the town of Guilderland, so I have no choice but to resign. It has been a pleasure to serve on the board over the past 9 years. I will cherish the relationships I have formed for the rest of my life. And I think, personally speaking, my own great amount of respect for Chris is the reason that I nominated him for the Trustee of the Year Award. And I sure hope that he gets it. But I don't know who else has been nominated across 2 counties, you know. But I thank Chris for his service. So, anything to add on that one?
I think we all agree.
Okay. So the second thing is every couple of years we do active shooter training with the Guilderland Police Department. We are doing that on April 30th and May 1st, so it's in about 2 weeks. I think technically we need your permission because we want to open the library at 10 a.m. those days instead of 9:30 because it takes 2 hours each day, and 8 a.m. is about the earliest we can fathom starting that with the Guilderland Police. Dan McNally is the guy who presents everything. The way that the training is structured, I want to mention because I'd like to invite any of you who are interested and available to be part of the training. So the first of the 2 days is you watch some video about what to do in an active shooter situation, and some video from security cameras at active shooter situations. And then you do a lengthy Q&A with Dan McNally, who is a very passionate and very skilled teacher, very passionate about trying to avoid injury and save lives. It's a tremendous learning experience. Then the second day, what we will be doing between 8 and 10 is we will be pretending for a while that we're open, and then we will have a scenario where an active shooting event takes place in the library. Real gun is fired, with blanks in it, of course, but it's loud. and the staff has been taught the previous day how to react. The staff then reacts. The protocol is run, hide, or fight, and it involves how to call 911 and what to say and what to look for in the assailant. And then you flee or hide, depending on what's available to you. And then you come back together to debrief to make sure that you don't have any questions and that you did that right. And one of the things we've learned is that it's very different from our fire department response. In our fire alarm response, we have a gathering place. You don't want to have a gathering place within sight of the building for a shooting event because you could be shot by the person who sees the gathering place. You learn things like you might need this and then you might need to drop this because it might look like a gun to the police officer that is coming back to you. So our whole staff is involved with that. It's mandatory. We do have a slight exemption. The example I used when I emailed the staff is if you are a veteran with PTSD, we'd be happy to exempt you from this training. But in general, the people that have taken it, including those who were reluctant to take it, have valued it a great deal. There is an optional third component on May 8th, which will not require us to close the building, but that morning from, I believe, 8:30 to 9:30, we will do the Stop the Bleed training, which is the newest. It's tourniquet training for what to do after an active shooter event. So I need your permission to open the library at 10 o'clock on the 30th and the 1st. And if you'd like to be part of any of those three events, just send Jenna an email and we'll make you, for example, during the scenario, we'll make you a library patron. And so you could be browsing for DVDs and then shots ring out and so forth.
I'll make a motion to open the library at 10 a.m. on April 30th and May 1st for staff to complete training.
Second.
All right, second by Herb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, adopted.
If I can just add to Tim's thing, I've participated in that with the Guilderland Police and the State Police a few times at cross gates. And even though you know the guns are blank, the police take these drills very seriously. And I was a victim both times. I had been shot by the shooter. First of all, when they shoot those blanks, you don't know, you think it's real. And second of all, one thing to keep in mind, not just for the drill, but just in general, which I had never thought of before then, because again, I played someone who was shot, not killed, but wounded, is that the police don't know who's the shooter and how many shooters there are. So if you're ever involved in an active shooter situation, even if you're shot, the police are not sure that you're not one of the shooters with a gun, even though you're laying there bleeding, because there have been instances where shooters shoot themselves so that they blend in and they're not considered a shooter. And they will treat you as a potential shooter until they are absolutely sure that you're not. So even though you might be bleeding or just scared to death, don't expect them to just, welcome you with open arms and stuff, because again, they don't know that you don't have a gun and looking to shoot them. So that's something just to keep in mind, just for all of us and everybody in general.
Yep. And it's one example of the many things you would learn. So I'd encourage you to join us if you don't have access to that kind of training elsewhere.
It's a good training. Just be prepared. It is traumatic, though.
Yeah.
It takes
And our staff
a lot
is-
out of you, and you've got to follow up with them, which I'm sure they talk about.
Our staff is to be commended for doing this every couple of years, and in this particular instance, they requested it. It's not like the admin is saying it's time to do this again. The staff said, we'd like to do this again. We have a safety-conscious staff, and I appreciate that. So, third item is substitute librarian request. So this just happened today, actually, but we have a librarian who is going to have to leave for an unknown amount of time to have some major surgery. And they're going next week, and this librarian happens to be a person who covers 2 of every 4 weekends in the library and 1 night every week. you know, when you take one member of our staff away, you immediately get coverage problems. So her position is 40 hours a week. We would like to ask you guys to authorize us to spend for a substitute librarian for 20 hours a week for as long as this person is out, which is going to be anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. The reason we're asking for 20 instead of 40 is that the vital aspects are covering those weekends and evenings. The things that this librarian does during the rest of the week, other people can easily cover for her. The question beyond getting your permission to spend, 20 hours a week for anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks, we don't know if the county civil service currently has an active substitute list, but we do have a couple of librarians here that are part-time that might be able to pick up some of these hours. So my personal preference is to use librarians that already work here if they're willing to do the work, because we wouldn't have to train them in all the
Would that
arcane.
impact benefits or anything?
That's a
If
good
somebody's
question.
currently working part-time and they
Are
work
those two
full-time?
part-timers benefited part-timers, or?
They would need to be appointed to a benefit part-time position. This would not qualify them to be appointed to a benefit part-time position since it's temporary time span.
And because over a course of a year, if you averaged it out, they'd still be below
Wouldn't
the
make it.
threshold? Okay, so good question, Barry.
No
but
overtime,
apparently-
so they no overtime?
Yeah, so,
So I'll make that motion to approve the addition of 20 hour for a librarian, part-time substitute librarian.
A second.
Are we putting the 8-week limit on that?
Actually, I'm not, I mean, as needed.
we're not gonna keep spending once the person gets back. It would-
Just say temporary though, because if you don't indicate that it's temporary, then it goes into the civil service.
All right, friendly amendment to add
Yeah,
temporary?
temporary.
All right, got that, Jenna?
Kind of, can you repeat it in a
Oh,
way?
yeah, sure, yeah. I'll make the motion to, I'll just make the motion for a temporary substitute librarian up to 20 hours per week as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Due to illness, would that be good?
No. No.
Okay, so, okay.
Seconded by Mike. Barry?
Okay, I know Tim said it was gonna be from anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, I think. you said
2 to
2 to
8.
8 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, but what happens if there's complications and the person is out for several months? If we don't set a limit on this thing, then we're gonna be paying extra salary for a considerably longer time than we're thinking of right now.
That's why I said as needed, I
So
should
it
make that
needs to come
determination.
to, if we authorize it for 8 weeks and something happens, then we have to,
After,
to
she'll
rule
run,
on it again.
she'll run out of benefited
Right.
time after 8 weeks. And at that point, we will no longer be paying the existing librarian.
Okay.
She'll be out of FMLA, so we'll
Right.
protect your job,
Right.
but we will
Okay.
not be paying her, so it will actually be
Yeah.
saving money at that point.
Okay,
And
thank
we
you.
can renew it at a subsequent meeting.
But we're not,
Yeah,
because
you don't have to
the
ask
We didn't put
motion,
a time, so there would be
that's
no
the
substitute.
point I was
Oh.
making,
I
but the
know.
motion does not set that limit.
Right.
But are you content with it running out, that the salary runs out in 8 weeks
Yeah.
anyway, so,
Yeah.
okay.
But it could be 9, it could be 7, I mean.
Yeah, that's right.
So, motion's still on the floor, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay, carried. All right, I'll say that it passes.
Okay. And the last thing is that I had a lengthy meeting today with Peter Barber and Ken Kowalczyk, the town planner. And if you'd like, I will probably take about 5 to 8 minutes to kind of run down all the development projects in our immediate neighborhood and their status. It's up to you guys. Okay, yes, all right.
Sure.
So,
All right.
Winding Brook Drive, 52-unit condo development has had the trees cut. They're down Winding Brook on the west side. So construction of that is imminent in this spring or this summer, and in that particular project, 19 acres of sort of forever green type space. That's probably not the right word, but dedicated nature space has been given to the town as part of that. Winding Brook Commons is the very large project at the mouth of Winding Brook between Western Avenue and the YMCA. And that has been, it's not as far along in the approval process, but has been scaled back from 280 units to 200 residential units, and scaled back from 90,000 feet of commercial, square feet of commercial entities to 23,000 square feet of commercial entities. There will be a trail connecting the library property over to Winding Brook, a walking, biking trail, and then sidewalks on both sides of Winding Brook, all the way down to the Y on that side and down to Winding Brook condo project on the other side. All the businesses over here along Western Avenue and the home, or two homes, I can't remember which, are staying. They are not involved in the development, so Gilderland Printing and is it Martin Kehoe's law office, somebody's law office, are just Kuntz, okay, are just staying. Let's see, and they're Kurtz, okay.
Kurtz, I guess.
Yep, and the road behind the library, that the paper road, is no longer a concept as a road. It will not be a road under any currently foreseen circumstances, but it still may become part of a bike trail. The sidewalk plan to go from SEFCU to the library is a federally funded project, and as such it's a little harder to get done than state or local. It's in what's called the design phase right now, and it's also in the right-of-way acquisition phase. So land to build the sidewalks is being acquired. It will probably go to bid in the late fall of this year or early winter of this year, and construction would most likely be in the spring or summer of 2020. From SEFCU all the way up to Winding Brook, there's a really healthy setback, so there'll be a higher quality of life for those people walking along that sidewalk. As it gets from Winding Brook to us, there are some property owners for whom the town still doesn't know if they're going to be able to acquire enough land to bring it far off the road, so it might be right up close to the road, but they prefer it far off the road. Mercy Care Lane, the part that the town now owns from the back of Our Lady of Mercy over to the YMCA, is in decent shape, but still not up to town standards. Mercy Care Lane from the back of Our Lady of Mercy over to Western is still owned by St. Peter's, but is still expected to be given to the town of Guilderland. When that second gift or dedication or transfer of property happens, then the entire road will be brought up to town standards, including sidewalks there. The Beacon development, which is the intergenerational development on Mercy Care Lane, has 65 units and will revisit, is dedicated toward 55 plus people, people who are fostering children and young adults with developmental disabilities. That is being reviewed by the planning board, according to Peter Barber. And he mentioned that the housing there is below market rate, so it's meant to help people afford housing. And then lastly, I think I mentioned it earlier, but as part of this discussion, Peter and Ken thought it would be good for me to come talk about the library project at the May 7th town board meeting. Meeting starts at 7, and I will likely go on right about 7:30. So that was our meeting. So it was a very good meeting. So
There's also a car wash that they want to build across the road there, opposite the SEFCU.
okay. Mm-hmm. It's a car wash, and is it also a
Car
convenience?
wash and a credit union.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
building there.
Yep. For a different credit union, you take it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I'd heard something about that, but it didn't come up in the meeting today. But it, now, one thing he said about Winding Brook Commons is that the 3 commercial buildings.
You're getting posed.
the three commercial buildings would be at the corner of Winding Brook and Western. They'd be at the east side of that, so the other side of Winding Brook. And there are apparently, I want to remember if I say this correctly, but there is some space for which there is not yet a tenant, and there may well be some space for which there is a tenant, but there's nothing they can say yet about who it's going to be. They kind of think maybe there'll be a restaurant involved, which would be awesome for the library to have some access to some food without driving away. But 23,000 square feet of commercial space would be at the southeast corner of Winding Brook. So that's that.
They've moved the project further away from the YMCA.
Okay.
So they have the Forever Wild area, you know, on that side near the YMCA. They're looking at a bike path, nature path, connecting to Campus Club Drive.
Cool. So that's everything under new business.
All right, old business.
Old business is the system-wide MyCard, and you guys gave me 3 questions to ask Phil Berardi, our head of circulation, and so I did that. So the first question was, would these system-wide MyCards, if we were to issue them, remember we decided to accept them, but the question on the table is whether we would issue them, would they cost us anything? So it's kind of like every other offer you've ever heard. The first batch is free from Upper Hudson Library System, and after that, and it's 500 or something, and after that, 50 cents a card. However, our library would probably take the first batch free, but in contrast to UHLS, we've found a way to buy library cards for 6 cents each instead of 50 cents each. So, you know, the cost factor is probably a little bit of a wash. The second is, do we currently turn away any kids from getting a card because their parents are uninterested or uninvolved in their child's visits to the library? And that is a little bit hard for that to be a common thing here because you have to drive to get here at present, but it probably won't be the case that you always have to drive to get here. Phil's answer is occasionally when grandparents or babysitters bring children in for programs or for story time. Outside of this scenario, it is rare that a non-guardian is here with a child inquiring about a library card. And the third question was, why would we want to issue MyCards? It was a pretty basic question. And the answer is, I would think that a library would choose to issue MyCards if they believe that overdue fines or parental permission are possible barriers to youth using the library. Have children been denied a library card because they came to the library with a grandparent or a babysitter, not a parent or a guardian? Are there kids who have used the library in the past who don't return to the library once they owe overdue fines? The answer to that here, and I believe in every library, is yes. Frontline staff have a useful perspective on these issues and whether they've cropped up in the library. They have cropped up here. As Phil noted through me last time, he doesn't expect us to see a lot of use of the MyCard program, but if you chose to offer it, you would be making a decision that would mean that anyone who opted for the MyCard over the regular youth card could check out three items at a time that would be fine free. That's one of the differences between a MyCard and a regular library card. Is a regular library card has a limit of 75 items on it, and a MyCard has a limit of 3 items on it. So it's really just meant for those kids that, for whatever reason, it's only their grandparents who bring them, and their grandparent really can't, at least in our rules, unless you tell me to change that, but a grandparent can't act in the same role that a parent can, nor can a babysitter, you know. So it's really only for those kids. It's a very small number of occurrences. My personal opinion is it's a good principle to have, but if you made it available, it would have to be available to everybody. So let's use my family as an example. I have an 11-year-old son. If he wanted to get a library card, you can't have a MyCard and not have it be the choice that my family might want to make. Like that wouldn't be right. So,
Okay, can you repeat that?
okay, yeah, I'm gonna try to say it better. So, I live in a family that comes to the library and we're involved in the library. So my child is not in a babysitter, well, he is in a babysitter situation right now. Or a grandparent situation where those are the people who bring him to the library. So currently what happens is if there is a child who's brought to the library by their grandparent exclusively, I'm pretty sure, kind of looking at Margaret here, but I'm pretty sure that they would have to get some kind of a note or an email from the parents to say, go ahead and issue my child a library card. Then, once that card's issued, it would be the card that's good for up to 75 items and has fines associated with it. They could get a My Card without. I mean, a kid can come in, a 12-year-old kid can come into a library, an 8-year-old, 7-year-old kid can come in and get a My Card. One reason it's limited to 3 items is to minimize the potential danger of losing items because the kid is not responsible and doesn't bring them back. The Albany Public Library My Card is a 5-item limit, but when Upper Hudson wanted to go to the whole system doing it, a number of libraries, including Troy, which also has an inner-city environment, said, we can't do it at 5, but we can do it at 3. So they have genuine concern that they're going to lose materials from the My Card. I honestly think issuing it here, it would probably almost never go out, but I'd like to have it there for the, I don't know how many kids we're talking in a year. I can ask Bill that if we want to defer a decision, but.
My guess is it would be minimal.
Yeah, yeah, so we are doing a lot of work on this for some
Tim,
time. Yeah.
Yeah, plus the building that they wanna do, the community, doesn't it have like the scenario what you're talking about, like maybe, if I'm not mistaken, is the Beacon Hill adoption?
Oh,
That's right,
there would be
care
foster
kids.
people there.
But
yeah.
even now, a foster care kid couldn't
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
Right, so that.
And they do. Yeah.
Right,
But if
so
they
how do they
do-
get the, I'm sorry, how do they get the card?
I don't know. I did talk to a foster family here
Yeah.
one day, but.
That's what I'm worried about.
But I'm thinking if they're gonna do bike paths or walking paths, then in the future, that could become.
Yeah. And that's
a real
one
thing.
reasonable decision you
Yeah, I'm
guys
just
could make,
worried
is
about it
do it
now,
later.
what they're doing now. I
So-
never thought about it.
See, I would actually, you know what, your hand was up, I'll let you go first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it would, to me, very simple
Mhm.
for us to allow grandparents
Mhm.
to,
Mhm.
you know, or foster parents
Yep.
to get the kid a library card. I
I'm
mean,
guessing
in
we-
this day and age, there are so many grandparents that
Oh, yeah.
are
Yeah.
involved in.
I'm surprised that it's just parents.
Yeah,
I know, right.
absolutely.
Well, it's gotta be because if the kid loses it, this person is responsible, right?
right.
So,
Right.
that's
You're right,
why.
but whoever signs it is responsible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So in this
So
case,
what will we need to do to change that?
Yeah.
I never realized that that was.
I'm
the
sure,
case.
like foster parents are a legal guardian, I'm sure that they.
I think foster parents can probably just say,
Yeah.
I'm vouching for the foster child.
So can't we change it to the grandparents?
Yeah, but I'm just like at Vanderheiden, there aren't foster parents, they're all
Mhm.
staff.
Right.
And, you know, St. Anne's, all of them, they're all staff, they're not gonna
Do you
vouch.
have no way of verifying a grandparent's relationship to a
Right,
child? I know
right.
that sounds ridiculous.
Oh, you
but
don't, yeah,
There's
yeah.
no documentation you
Right,
present to
right.
say, that's my grandchild.
Right.
Unless
Is there any
they-
documentation presented that this is my child?
Mm-hmm.
They live at the same
They live
address.
in the same address.
Well, it's not like the kid has ID, how do you know what address they live at?
That's exactly it. You
Oh,
need-
okay,
you
yeah,
need
yeah.
Something, how are you gonna fill
Yeah,
out an
okay.
application for this person?
So theoretically, right, like a grandparent could, they come in, because they're at that point vouching that this kid lives with them. I mean, they're putting their,
No,
No,
they're
no,
living
no.
with them with that, they're a
Yeah.
caretaker.
yeah.
They'll
They're
cover the
bringing the
bill.
kids
But
to
they're
the-
covering
and
the
they
bill.
cover
They're a
the bill, right.
babysitter, you know, how are
For
you
the
gonna do
babysitter.
No,
that?
you're not, yeah.
Well, that would be the scenario, yeah.
So-
I babysit my grandkids every week,
Yeah,
a couple of days, and, you know, I take them to the library down in Valatia, Wells State Kinderhook Library. So,
And they have cards already.
they have the cards already, but,
Signed by their parents.
But say theoretically,
But I mean-
you know, you took them there and they wanted the card, couldn't you have just signed the card?
and that library, definitely, the library is no bigger than this room.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
But maybe by the next meeting, tell us how that could be achieved.
Right.
Because as I said,
Sure.
in this day and age, there
Yeah.
are so many grandparents involved,
Mm.
you know, with their
And it
kids.
may not even be a problem, it could be already.
We will check on the grandparents, and I will, at the same time,
And the foster parents as well.
And-
Yeah.
And not even foster, but I mean, just like the ARC kid, the, you know, the St. Anne's kid, or whatever's out here. You know, that's just, because they would have a staff member, not necessarily a guardian.
right, yeah, I don't know what we do for those
Yeah,
groups. I'll have
curious.
to try to figure that out, so.
We didn't think about it, to be
I
honest.
have another question, not directly related to that, but we allow 75 items on a card?
Yeah.
Is that what all
Is that still the
libraries?
number?
Is that what all libraries do?
It's not uncommon. Some are 50.
I mean, that seems like a lot
It
to
seems
me.
like it does.
It's just not a lot of people, but if you're a teacher.
Noreen, how many items are in your house right now?
Yeah.
I juggle 3 cards, and I'm like a secretary every week trying to like juggle. There's a lot of items. There's a lot.
Especially if you have kids, I mean,
Yeah.
you take out 10 or 15
And I've
at
had
a
to put a
time.
cap on them because
Yeah.
I lose my mind, like, you know, but they're very organized for the most part.
Yeah.
But no, there's a good, you'd be surprised between videos, CDs, and books. Like sometimes I look at my list and go, holy cow, how much should I take out?
Yeah.
I take out a lot of CDs to
Yeah.
listen in my class or listen at home. You could easily, in 1 minute, put 8 CDs, then 8 books, and it just starts accruing.
Okay.
Like children's books are super short. You read those real fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like you need a bunch.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or you're reading the same book over and over and
yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
And then for the college and high school students,
Mhm.
we'll all travel back in time and remember when we bring 20 or 30 items to write
Right.
one paper
One
about,
paper,
you know,
right.
the 100 Years of War or whatever it was, you know, because you had to have a certain number of sources.
While these are good questions, do
Mhm.
they impact our decision with my card at all?
No.
I have
Yeah,
a question
I
about the
don't
My
think so.
Card.
Yeah.
There's, so, you know, you're saying a child could come in without their parents. Is there any way to verify their address, that they live in the Guilderland School District?
Not really, because most kids don't have, you know, I mean, they'll be able to tell you their address, but they wouldn't have anything on them that says, I live at such and such address. What it's basically meant to do is, in inner city libraries, it's meant to create library access for kids
Yeah, sure.
who, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
don't have an adult who wants to make the library part of their life, you know.
And once in a while, you will get a kid who's very maybe ahead of himself and says,
That's great.
nobody's
There's
doing
access.
anything for me, I'll
Right.
do it for myself.
One of the scenarios Phil mentioned to me, and I, you know, like, honestly, I'm not frustrated with you, but I'm frustrated with the situation because I don't work at the circulation
Yeah,
desk.
yeah.
So I can't tell you. But Phil basically said, you have a lot of homes where there are a lot of families where there are 2 different homes. And there's a step parent on one side, or there's a step parent on both sides, and it gets pretty complicated up there. And there are times when there's, you know, it's just a family that they don't really care, you know, to have their kid use the library, but the kid wants to, you know. I may ask Phil to work a Thursday night. That
I was
sounds like to
gonna
try to
say,
explain to you
if we
guys.
feel like we have to push this back, or what,
Mhm.
maybe it would be good to have him come in, but, Jason. is there
I was just gonna
something-
make a motion to like postpone or just reject this, but, I mean, it sounds like you guys wanna talk about it more.
Well, make the motion.
I make a motion to reject my card.
Reject.
Or at least put it off, at a future date in which like, you know, it'd be, better for, people, you know, youth that are, it's accessible, they'd be able to walk here. Right now, that's not the case. We're talking about like, you know, just like very rare occurrences in which we gotta figure out like, you know, who's like a guardian, residential stuff, like, you know, it just seems like it's a lot and it's not necessary.
Until these walking developments happen.
Yeah, but that's not right now.
Right, exactly, I'd say.
What's, well, I guess so, in my mind, what's the problem then putting it up now and making sure the program's running, and then when we have these developments, which we know they're coming through, if they cleared the land for them,
There's
that
no
way
need for it
the
right
program
now.
is.
I mean, and
Yeah,
you
but we
don't,
could
you
be
still don't know what the foot
progressive.
traffic is gonna be.
We could be progressive and put in, you know,
Like I said, like, I mean, if you guys wanna vote on it, fine, I don't really.
I say
but-
we vote on it,
You have to go over there.
It's excessive,
Well,
right? You're trying to
you're
increase
making a
access, right?
motion to
Yeah.
table, or you
Even
table
if
it to a
even
date
if we increase
certain.
access by one person, I think it's worth it. Like you know,
It's like a starter card is another way of looking at it. It's a low responsibility way to have a library card.
And you said there's
I feel
only
like this
three.
is an introduction to fine free, like, I don't know, I mean, let's keep it 100. So, if we wanna continue to debate this, or like, vote on it, that's fine, but that's.
we're debating your motion right now. Is the vote to
But the motion
At least
didn't have a
postpone it.
second yet.
Yes, it did,
Table.
Barbara.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
You're
Okay.
putting it on the table then.
Right, you got it.
so
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 we're
we're
saying-
postponing this
Date
for
certain.
a year. What is your motion?
You said it.
Well,
And-
what, I would
and
love
if you
to
put
end
like
it,
a-
but, like,
well, don't
it
end it,
seems
because
like there's
that's what you
it
said.
seems like there's, it's.
Put like a timetable on it, because if you end it, then
When are those units, coming? How
We
I
don't
don't know.
So, I mean, you can make a motion to postpone, or someone could make a motion to.
Well, you'd have to deal with that motion before you.
Yeah,
do
because
another.
again, like
do
this goes to
something.
what I'm saying, like you don't even
Doing
know when
nothing
those
is
units
the
are
same
getting
as-
here. We're
Well, I
having
think you kinda wanna do
hypothetical
like a
conversations
direction.
about like
We don't
kids
wanna,
that are
like, have
gonna
this
come
debate
here
every-
with possibly their grandparents, possibly like whoever their parent or guardian is. So just
I would like to resolve this one way or another. This.
But Tim
this-
said that this new card would the limit would be 3 items.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if we got 5 kids to do it and they never return the items, we're only talking about 15
It's very
things
small.
at the most. Which to me, I think we should give this thing a try.
And we're denying access.
I don't care about the new development, I just wanna, to me, it's just giving anybody now access,
Yeah.
if it helps.
There's people that
brings
we
kids
can
to the
verify their
library,
address
that's
that
You
owe
have a
money.
motion on the, vote
Yeah,
the
motion. Well, we're debating the motion. Barbara.
I make a motion to postpone the My Card for at least a year.
Okay, a year.
Possibly 2. I mean, again, like those units aren't even gonna be here in a year.
All right. So
You know,
then we'll say a year or 2. Pick one.
a year.
A year.
Is that
Year.
So that way
Alright.
it won't be brought up. If you kill it, then someone could bring it up in like.
That's fine.
So give it a year.
I
That
have
way
a
we have
feeling
a.
it's gonna continue to be brought up.
All right. So the motion is postpone it for a year. Barbara.
I would like to, I'll second the motion just to get it on the floor, but I would much prefer us taking the proactive approach of the things that really happen in this community.
Mhm.
You know, of checking, why can't a grandparent or a foster parent sign up for a card?
I believe a foster parent can.
We should check. I just
I
I,
think
don't
that's
see
a
them
second- that's a
as
second.
they're kind of like
I-
somewhat different issues.
I want to cover what our current people are facing, and this, as I said, I just see as a fine-free, camel's nose under the tent type of thing, starting the whole ball rolling.
I just want to comment on that point that both Jason and you have said. There are 29 libraries in the system. There are probably 6 that are fine-free. There are probably 25.
Where are
maybe-
those 6 though? Are they in like the inner city? Like they have different needs.
A lot of them are real small towns, like Grafton and places like that. But to finish the thought, there are about 25, maybe 28 libraries that have adopted issuing the My Card, even though they're not inner city libraries and they're not fine-free. And to go back to the fine-free concept, the ones that are saying no to that are Troy, Colony, and Bethlehem, and us. So, and there are a bunch of other libraries that haven't made a decision on that yet, but.
We have said that we would accept.
The My Card, yeah,
Yeah, so-
we did move that way last time, so.
So
One of the problems here is you got a guy trying to theoretically, I'm not trying to sell it to you, but I'm trying to explain to you what it is. But for the 20 years before I worked here, I worked in a library that does not circulate. You can't take anything out of it. So it's my biggest weakness as a public librarian, understanding how circulation systems work. And that's why, if I were making a motion, I'd make a motion that we request Bill Berardi to change his hours. and
but
come
I
in.
don't think that would change anything. It sounds like it's just a philosophical thing at this point. So I'd say we roll with the vote unless anyone wanted to say anything more.
So the motion is to postpone.
Any discussion of My Card
For a year.
of us My Card.
Of issuing My Card.
Issuing My Card. Sorry.
Not, we've accepted it.
You
Yeah,
call the
it-
question?
So if you're voting for this, we are postponing it. If you're voting against it, you would theoretically want My Card.
Okay.
In that, okay? So all those in favor of postponing, raise their hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? All those opposed? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
Motion does not pass.
So, I guess, is there a motion?
Can you vote on anything that's not a tie?
I can vote on anything,
Okay.
because it's less than like 12 people.
I would
So I'm
make
gonna
a
make a
mo-
okay, go
I
ahead.
would make a motion to move ahead with it, but I think we're gonna get the same
We'll
5-5.
just see, maybe
Okay.
someone will
Yeah.
swing.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move ahead, and, you know,
Issue.
and to get the system up to issue my cards.
I second.
Second, I assume there's probably no discussion, so let's, all those in favor? Opposed?
Where's
All right.
Chris?
The importance of that 11th
Probably
board
swing
position.
He's swinging.
Damn you,
In a
Chris.
case like this, the director casts a vote.
Yeah. Oh, Chris, I hope
Just
you're
kidding.
watching, Chris.
Okay,
All right,
let's
so
move on.
this is,
Let's just move on.
yeah, we're
If
just,
we had video
yeah.
voting.
yeah. Maybe we should just wait till the next new board comes in. And that way, all right.
I mean, you
Let's,
get it.
I make a motion to have this, to bring this back up when the new board sits. That way we have several new people that will, so is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
I don't know if
Aaron?
these new people.
All those favor of postponing this discussion until the new board, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I abstain because I may not be on the new board.
Oh, I'm not either, but I don't think.
Well, you would still vote aye.
I can vote, yeah, yeah.
All right, so that passes.
You're
So
here.
we'll bring this up
Yeah,
again.
right. You're here now, that's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah. All right, good.
I got
All right.
you. I totally didn't get it.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if this is
Guarantee
the time. I was approached by Dan Senta the other day indicating he could not make it to the dinner, and he told me that Judy Kahn was not going to make it either.
Yeah, I reached out to both Judy and Dan. They both cannot make it. Then I think they're out of the town or out of the country. And then Carol was interested, but she's quite ill, so that's kind of hit or miss. So we'll see how she feels when that happens. So, but yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. But the dinner will go on. They'll just be honored in.
In a sense,
Yeah, yeah. So,
All
all right, minutes to the budget hearing.
Can I bring up just
Yes,
something real
yes.
quick on old business, and it's new old business? We had agreed before to move ahead with sending out something, and a lot of us were not happy with, saying a 4-page thing was not gonna work. This is a 2-page thing that I'm not sure who put it together, Luann or? Luann, which.
It's an earlier generation of.
But I think this is
corpus.
fantastic. I mean, it needs to, probably be tweaked a little bit, but I think this covers it because to me, it got the key things. It talks about the money, and it also points out that the library does not have to hire additional people,
That's important.
which, that's right on the very first thing that they put on this. So, we wouldn't need the picture, they could just put other stuff, but I think, it talks about the money and everything, the same as the other, but it puts it in a nice little simple graph form, about the total cost, so I think something like this, 1 page front and back, again, maybe, take that and run with that, combine the two of them or something, but.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good, thanks.
Everything in there is incorporated into the four-pager.
Yeah.
But if you like it's just a basic FAQ.
But it's great because it's, it's nice and simple, which is what we really need.
Don't make it too late. Okay, so minutes to budget hearing. Is there a motion to approve these? Motion by Barry.
I make a motion,
Second
we
by
approve the
Barbara.
very detailed minutes of the budget hearing.
All right.
that
All
no
those in
one
favor?
attended.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain. Karen, you have to too, right?
Oh, yeah, right,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
so who-
stay.
Jen is usually pretty good.
Right, Barry made the motion, who seconded?
Barbara.
Barbara.
Thank you. And abstain is Peter and KCP.
Yeah.
Correct.
And motion,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody
Opposed? All right. Then is there a motion for the regular business of 21st? Barry, second by Barbara. All those in favor? Opposed?
Abstain, Peter.
Abstain?
Karen.
All
Has
right.
been approved.
All right, so that's adopted.
Make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss
Motion by
personnel matters.
Sorry, before we would do that, I just need to verify with Margaret and Carol
the 7 administrative contracts that I have here, if we have a completely successful outcome, they will be signed tonight by Brian and voted in by this group, correct? Those are the two.
There's 8.
8, okay, sorry, I thought it was 7. We can talk later.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But that's what we need to do, we need to get signatures and board approval, correct? Okay, got it.
All right, motion to go in executive by Peter, seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're in executive session.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, staff.
Margaret, don't worry.
That's the one that
Alright.
Barry
There
was
are
just
8,
talking
because
about.
when I looked at
There you go.
Luann, before you leave, just one quick thing Barbara has to mention about